Have you guys heard about some of the statistics facing, for example, police, cops, state troopers, FBI, sheriff, whatever kind of law enforcement? They're dealing with a situation where society is getting worse and worse. It's getting worse and worse for all of us. And one particular challenge that they face, one particular threat that they face, is a threat or challenge that is happening because of what is happening to us, to the American people. And one of the things in particular that's going on right now is deaths or injuries, violence, basically when they go to serve an eviction. Now, what's the problem here? The problem is that the people being evicted, they feel like they have nothing left to lose. Why do those people feel like they have nothing left to lose? It's a good question. But to me, the answer is obvious. Our society is crumbling so fast, particularly here in the West, specifically places like the United States and Canada. And I'm sure you all could think of some more places. But specifically in the U.S., because we have this entire system based on corporations, government, and bankers. Now, when I say that, I specifically mean we have a society. It's kind of like from the top down. So if you look at it like this, you could say we have a society that is corporate conquered, government enforced, and banker sponsored. Those are the three biggest things affecting our lives. If you ask yourself, who does this system benefit? Does it benefit the individual? Does it benefit the family? Does it even create incentives for the individual or the family? Friends, what has happened is that over quite a few decades, you could debate on when exactly this started or how far back it actually goes. But the point is that we have a society that has been designed and engineered to benefit the legal fictions, to benefit what I call the dead things, right? So in this society, you have legal fictions, which are corporations, for example. Well, a legal fiction is not the same thing as a living, breathing person. However, corporations were given personhood. Now, what does that mean? Well, it basically means that corporations have the same rights and privileges as an individual, but they do not have the same responsibilities. They do not have the same moral and ethical obligations as an individual. So what's happening? What's causing all of this danger out there? What's causing all these things to happen? Why are people serving evictions facing more and more likely to face violence? Recently, there was a female deputy that was shot and killed serving an eviction. It's happening because the system is squashing people, folks. The system is causing individuals to be put in a situation through no fault of their own. There was a day when people would say, well, yeah, so-and-so, made poor choices and bad decisions. And those situations exist. Those situations, sure, there's always going to be individuals that have made poor choices and bad decisions and ended up in a tough spot because of what they decided, because of the choices and decisions they made. Could be a whole string of bad choices and decisions they've made throughout their life. But the point here is that because everything is collapsing, the way of life as we knew it for many generations is collapsing. It's no longer working. And people are being evicted. People are having their cars repossessed. People are having their homes repossessed, aka foreclosure. People are having all kinds of problems because the system is collapsing and basically leaving them with nothing left to lose. So when they get evicted, they feel like, I've got nothing left to lose. Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? I've got nothing left to lose anyway. Sorry about that, guys. I had to pause there for a second. But so people are being put in a position to where they feel like they have nothing left to lose, right? A good example of it not really being, I like to say that for the large majority of individuals in today's society, it's not their fault. It's easy to blame the individual and point at the individual, right? But what we really need to look at is the system. If you look at the way the system is designed, it's designed to benefit the corporations. It's designed to benefit the government. It's designed to benefit the bankers. One of the things that I think of is your credit score, okay? You can have a credit score of, what's the best one you can have? I think the best one you can have is like I think it's a score of 850, which is, that's almost unheard of. Like, who has a score of 850, right? But I know, like, that's the best credit score you can have, okay? Let's say something happens to you. You get sick. You get in a car accident. Maybe the car accident wasn't even your own fault. You're just minding your business one day, driving to work, and boom, somebody hits you in the back, or somebody hits you, wherever. Next thing you know, you're in the hospital for maybe a few weeks. You're out of work for a while. Your bills pile up. You can't catch up on rent, especially nowadays because people don't even have money saved. Like, how many people, the stats out there show that there's a large number of people that don't even have $500 saved up for an emergency. So what happens to these people? Your credit goes bad, a lot of times through no fault of your own, through some circumstance or situation that was completely beyond your control. So now you're the enemy of every bank. You're going to have a hell of a time being able to purchase a home or buy a car, or in a lot of cases nowadays, even get a job. A lot of places won't even hire somebody if they don't have a good credit score, which I find very ironic because it is the corporations, the very same people that want to punish you for having bad credit, whether it's applying for an apartment at an apartment complex, applying to rent a home, or buy a home, or buy a car. Okay. And there's many situations I'm sure you guys can think of where your credit could affect your ability to get what you want or get what you need. And it's the very same institutions and organizations that are putting everyone in a position to where they're not able to make it, right? It's not that they don't want to play by the rules, it's that they simply can't. You can't keep good credit if you do not have, let me put it this way, you can't have stable credit and keep it good if you can't have a stable life. Who are the ones causing the situation for most people not to be able to keep or maintain a stable life? Well, when you've got corporations out there laying people off for their benefit and all of the other crazy things that are going on, right? We've got starvation wages. We've got, jobs being shipped overseas, people basically working remotely. We've got a lot of H-1B people in the country. I recently heard a number of 105. There's 105 million foreign nationals in the country if you consider visa holders and illegals. There's 105 million foreign nationals. Think about that number. 105 million, okay? There's only about approximately 170 million people in the workforce in the United States. If people think that that kind of stuff is not affecting the wages, it's not affecting the prices of homes, it's not affecting prices of cars, et cetera, the prices of food and so on. There's a situation, what I'm trying to say here, folks, is that there's a situation being created by design that is causing you not to be able to succeed, not to be able to get ahead, not to be able to even maintain basic survival properly. You've got people out there working 2 and 3 jobs, and they're still not making it. They're still having a hard time making it month to month. So then who punishes you? It's the very same people that caused the problem. What I'm getting at here is we live in a system that is not designed for your or our success. Because when they create problems, when they cause problems, who suffers? We do, the individuals, right? The citizens, your everyday person. If we create problems for ourselves, who suffers? We do, right? Which is understandable. But my point here is that when it's them creating the problems, when it's them causing the problems, we have to scramble to figure out, okay, how do I solve these problems? It may be, I can't find a job, or at least I can't find a good one to properly pay my bills and buy food. I can't afford a car, or maybe you can't afford a decent car. Perhaps you cannot afford the one that you already have. You can't afford to fix it or maintain it. So if you look at the system from the 40,000 foot view, you can see that the people creating the problems are not responsible for the problems. The people creating the problems for us to have to deal with in our lives are not responsible for trying to figure out how to fix them. We have to suffer all the consequences. We have to go without. You can go out there and look at the numbers on how much the dollar has lost its value, how much purchasing power the dollar has lost. Wages are far, far behind what they should be. I just saw a recent video that was talking about all of these different stats and numbers that are actually far, far worse than what anyone suspected, even far worse than what I suspected. There's a video out there, and I can leave a link down below for you if you want to watch it. But there's a video out there that talks about, and I think it was just released, I think it was released today. And the title of the video says basically that the new poverty is $160,000 a year or less. Now, when I first saw that title, I thought, no, that can't be right. That's got to be inaccurate. There's no way that that's right. But then when you listen to the video and the guy breaks it down, you realize, oh my God, these numbers are right. And if I recall correctly, I believe in the video, the guy also said that he used the figure 100,000 a year. And that if you're an individual living, meaning living by yourself, making less than 100,000 a year, you are poverty. You're living in poverty. And that takes into account everything, the devaluation of the dollar, aka inflation, all kinds of things that most people wouldn't think of. So to circle back to what I was originally talking about, the dangers of serving evictions. This is a symptom of what is happening to our society. It's certainly not a cause. It is not a causation. It is not a factor that is just happening all on its own for no particular reason. This is a symptom of the collapse of our society. I'll conclude it with this. Only thing I can say is it has a lot to do with the fact that we as Americans, Westerners, or whoever you are, wherever you are in the world, that is struggling, it is because we have sat back and allowed all of these things to happen for a long time. Too many people have gone along to get along, if you know what I mean. People go about their everyday lives just trying to pay bills and trying to survive. And whether or not that is by design, being kept too busy is a whole nother conversation. It's a whole other argument. It is a debate all unto itself. But unfortunately, as people increasingly feel like they have nothing left to lose, these kind of things are going to not only continue to happen, but they are going to increase in frequency. And that is absolutely horrible. It's terrible that either party be put in that situation. You have people trying to serve the eviction, and the people being evicted. And I would venture to say, from what I can see in society, what I see going on today, it's not the people's fault that are being evicted most of the time. It's not their fault. It's corporate America abandoning the people. They are no longer loyal to the people. The only reason they ever even appeared to be loyal, quote unquote, to the people is because they needed us, right? And if you notice over the years, that loyalty kept waning more and more and more, right? There was a day when companies used to offer not only good pay, but benefits and so on and so on. And you could work for that company all of your life and have a nice retirement. Now what corporations are doing is most of them don't want to hire full time because they don't want to have to provide benefits. They don't want to have to provide paid vacations or any kind of paid time off. They don't want to have to provide health insurance, et cetera, et cetera. And so a lot of people are only being hired part-time. Then the struggle is you think, okay, well, I've got to go try to find another job. Well, the place that you're working for will often schedule people different days of the week. So let's say you've got the one part-time job, but they're scheduling you a couple days, maybe 2-3 days out of every week, and it's never the same days each week, right? It's always different days. So now you can't even go get a second job because you don't know when your other job is going to schedule you. On top of the fact that the one part-time job that you may have, or the 2 part-time jobs that you may have, or whatever, none of them or either one of them provide benefits. So all of these things are just the symptoms of a collapse. And yes, it's going to become more and more dangerous because ultimately the people are going to continue to see, they're going to start seeing anyone in any kind of uniform, like law enforcement or what have you. They're going to start seeing them as representatives of the state or representatives of a system that is against us, right? That wants to be our enemy, or at the very least doesn't care about us, right? They're replacing us with AI and, jobs overseas and H-1Bs, visas coming in. And so I'm sure you guys heard about that big lie about the, how that all these years they were saying, oh, we have to bring these H-1B visa people in because Americans aren't qualified enough to do these jobs. Then come to find out, when the data was researched, they found out that most of the H-1B visa jobs are like for entry-level, low-level jobs. You'll find that almost all of the bad things happening in society today are because somebody's profits. I like to say the common denominator is because profits. Almost every bad thing that you can identify happening in society today, you can either directly or indirectly connect it back to someone's profits. So every time I see something going on that's hurting people or causing people really bad problems, I always trace it back to something, to the source. And every time I end up saying to myself, because somebody's profits, or because profits. So how is all of this going to change? What's the solution? What do we do? It may sound corny, but the only thing we can do is come together again as a community. work together again as a community, because as a people, we've got to come together and support each other and put all of our differences aside. It doesn't matter what your race is, what your religion is, whether you're rich or poor or anywhere in between. The way that they continue to rule, the way they continue to conquer us, is divide and conquer. That is a huge, huge, huge tool that they use, folks, to keep power over us. All we have to do is come together, start having local communities again, right? Start having families again. And here's a big one: get the state the hell out of the family. This family court stuff and all of this other stuff, no, it needs to go. It needs to go. We need local community. I'm sorry, I've seen too many people, particularly men. It happens to women too, but most of the time it's men being completely destroyed and devastated by family communist court. That's what I like to call it, because that's what it is. Family court is yet another tool, and this is for another video. But family court is yet another tool that has been used for decades now to help destroy this country. Because the foundation of the country was the family. And they've basically completely destroyed that. And there's a lot of people out there talking about why. You've got women in the workforce competing with men. You got, all the factors have been discussed a million different times by countless different people. So, excuse me. Nothing like almost choking on your own saliva. So basically, guys, I'm going to leave it there. This is more of a melancholy video, but just thoughts that have been on my mind. It is what it is, folks. And the only people we have to blame for things to continue is ourselves. Because maybe before we didn't realize what was going on, right? Maybe before we didn't know, maybe before a lot of people were like, well, gee, I wonder why all these things are happening. I wonder what's going on. Why are all these things, all these bad things, in every aspect of our society? But now that we know what they are, and we pretty much know why they're happening, it is up to us to get together and do something about it. And by that, I mean going back to local community, communities growing their own food, becoming independent of the system. Many people refer to it as starve the beast, starve the monster, quit feeding it, starve the monster, right? Starve the beast. Stop feeding the system. Stop playing along. And the only way we can do that is to build our own system outside of their system. Peacefully, right? Just build our system. Like I said, local community, grow our own food, become familiar with different natural medicinal treatments. All the plants out there in the world, everything is here that God put everything on this earth that we need. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Instead of just rambling, I could just keep going on and on and on about stuff. But if you've stuck through this far, then you're a deep thinker and you understand what's going on. And there's not many people that think about these kind of issues. There's not many people that delve this deep into things. I think a lot of people have just gotten used to living their lives as NPCs. Not because they're stupid, and not even because they don't care, It's because I think, in my opinion, it's because people have been so far beat down and downtrodden by this system that they just feel like there's no hope, that there's no incentive. So why bother? But see, that's the trick. That's the deception. Because we can get ourselves out of this and we can win by not being dependent upon the system. If we're not dependent upon the system, the less we are dependent upon them and achieve more and more independence, then the less they have to hang over our heads. You know, right now I call our society, one of the ways I refer to it is the donkey and carrot, or a stick and carrot, the old thing where, that there's a stick with a carrot hanging on the end of it just in front of the donkey's face just to keep him going. So he never really actually gets the carrot. It's right there in front of him. It looks like he can get it. It looks like he's going to achieve being able to eat it, but he never quite gets to it. So he never gets to get it, but it just keeps him going, right? He keeps walking along staring at that carrot that he's never going to actually get. Of course, unless his owner gives it to him when they're all done, right? When they're all done on their journey. But for purposes of society, they've just created this donkey and carrot thing where, here, this is what you can have. But for almost all of us, it's unachievable because everything's collapsing. It doesn't matter if you're a hard worker. It doesn't matter when everything is collapsing around you. Hard work, and what I mean by hard work is slaving it away for somebody else. That doesn't get you ahead anymore like it used to. You're not going to get the promotions. You're not going to get the this, that, and the other. How it works today now is that, you get promoted in title, but you just get 10 times more responsibility and maybe just a little bit more pay. But we'll leave it there, folks. And we'll see you next time. All right. So I want you guys to have a happy Thanksgiving and just think about what has been said here today. Think about what you can do as an individual to better your life, to be a better person, not only for yourself, but equally as important for others around you. That's how we build community. That's how we build our system.